Hello lovelies, and welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a palette from Menagerie Cosmetics, and it is the Whalesong palette. This is such a beautiful 12 pan palette that is perfect for summer and for any ocean looks that we want to create, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I love Menagerie Cosmetics. All of their palettes that they create are based on animals and nature and different things like that, and so they are an absolutely gorgeous brand. But the Whalesong palette is so beautiful. As you can see here, this palette is so beautifully designed. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is so stunning on the outside, and then the color story on the inside is beautiful also. It is just such a lovely color story, and I'm so excited to dive into it and to show you this look that I've created today. I also wanted to share this little detail here on the mirror. It has just a little kind of fun fact in here. It says blue whales are the largest animals on earth with tongues weighing as much as an elephant. So I just think that's really cool. It's just a fun detail just to have some kind of scientific and informational facts in here about the whales, and just to kind of better connect you with nature. So I just think this is such a gorgeous palette. I did get this one as a Christmas present from my husband Dylan last year, and he actually gave me 3 Menagerie Cosmetic palettes for Christmas. He gave me the Flight Club, which is based on bats, the Pastel Pup, and then the Whalesong. So this is the 3rd one that I'm getting to use from this brand, and I'm so excited. If you are interested in the other 2, I will drop the links in the description box below for the videos that I made about those. But today we are going to jump into Whalesong, and I cannot wait to show you how we created this look and just to talk a little bit more about whales with you. So come along with me and let's make up the rules. I really love the packaging on this palette. I think it is so beautifully designed. It is just absolutely gorgeous. It is such a beautiful just sea life scenery here. And it's funny, I've had this palette since Christmas, and I've looked at it a few times since then, and I just realized the other day there is actually a mermaid on here. So I just think that's so cute, and just as a sweet little detail on this palette. Of course, I'm always just so drawn to the beautiful whales, and then having that mermaid on there is just such a kind of cool little extra detail. And the color story in this palette is so beautiful. It really reminds me of the Beauté Oceanic palette. It's got a lot of blues and greens. It's just so rich and so vibrant. As I was taking the swatches on this palette, all of the shades in here are just so pigmented. They have so much depth and so much life to them, and I love that there is a really good mixture of a little bit of neutral and then a lot of green and a lot of blue in here. And so there are a lot of mattes to play with. It's a 12 pan palette, and there are only 4 shimmers in here. So we've got 8 mattes, so we've got a nice good range from light blue to dark blue, and then from light green to dark green. And so that really gives you a lot to play with and a lot to work with in this palette. So I really love that. I think it's really nice just to be able to create a look that goes from light to dark, and I personally really like a look like that. I like being able to really kind of focus on blending and focus on just kind of creating that ombre effect. But the shimmers in here, even though there's only 4 of them, they are very bright and very impactful. This really light shade Pearl is a very pearlescent shade. It's a really good name for it. It's very light, very iridescent. It doesn't have a lot of substance to it. It's a very good topper shade or inner corner shade, just because it is so light. But it is a very beautiful shade. The shade Fluke is a really beautiful light green, and it doesn't have a lot of shift in the palette, maybe just a little bit, but when you apply it on the skin, it looks like it's got a bit of shift to it. It's kind of got a little bit of a minty green and then a little bit more of a pure green, and it kind of shifts between the two, sort of even a little bit kind of blue to green. So it's a really pretty shade, and it definitely doesn't look quite as beautiful in the pan as it even did in the swatches. So I was really excited for that one, just to really be able to see that really nice shift in the shade. And then there's a deeper green, it's called Splash. It is a really pretty, really rich kind of forest green, and it's beautiful. It's such a perfect shimmer to include in this palette. So you've kind of got that sort of bluish green lighter shade, you've got a darker green, and then the namesake of the palette, Whalesong, is a beautiful blue shimmer, and so it is really pretty. It's nice and deep and rich. It really provides a lot of color on the swatch and really provides just a really bright look to go with any looks that you create with this palette. So I love that there are not a lot of shimmers in here, but each one is very thoughtful, very intentional, and really has a place in this palette. So you've got a really light one that's a good for inner corners or toppers, and then a bluish green, and then one of each green and blue. So I think each one really makes a lot of sense in this palette. It goes really nicely and really adds a lot to the 8 mattes that are in here. So I'm really excited to go ahead and dive into our tutorial for today. So I'm going to go ahead and get my eyes primed, and I'll be right back, and we'll go ahead and get started. I primed my eyes with my Ulta Beauty Pigment Pop Eye Primer, and so going into this look, I think that I would like to start a little bit neutral just because my dress has a little bit of neutral kind of a background to it, and then I've got all the coral and the sea life to it. So I think I'm going to start with Plankton, which was a little bit more of kind of a brownish shade when I took my swatches. So I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to move a little bit more into green as we're making our way to the outer corner. So I'm going to just use an Ace Beauté Paletteopoly brush. This is P2. It's kind of a fluffy blending brush, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit of Plankton. I'm going to be very gentle. I'm getting a little bit of kick up in the pan, so I'm just going to be very gentle and just pick up a little bit of product and pick up more as needed. And I'm going to just go ahead and start on the crease with this shade mostly towards the inner corner, just kind of blending in just a little bit of this shade. So I'm not going to use a whole lot of this. I would rather focus a little bit more on the greens, but I do think this is going to be a nice, just kind of light sort of neutral shade to start with. This is really pretty, and like I said, when I took the swatches, all of the swatches came out very pigmented. They were really, really beautiful, so I'm not having any lack of confidence that everything in here is going to be very pigmented on the eyes and is going to look really nice. So again, just using this brush, just kind of going back and forth and just building up that pigment, picking up a little bit of product at a time and just slowly applying. And that is really pretty, and it definitely is very pigmented. It's very buildable too. As you can see, I'm just slowly adding a little bit more and a little bit more at a time and just getting the pigment and the consistency that I want. I really like that. I think that's a really nice shade to start with. I'm going to go ahead and pop some on the other side, and then we'll continue on with some more greens on the crease. I really like how that looks. So now I'm going to go a little bit more into green. So I'm going to go into this light green shade down here. This one is called Kelp. And I'm going to just continue across the crease using that same brush and just blending into that Plankton shade. I'm so excited about this palette. This is one that I have had in my collection for a little while now, and I've been really excited to use it. It's definitely a little bit more of a summery palette. So even though I got it as a Christmas present, I've been kind of holding on to it and just waiting until a little bit closer to summertime so that I could really start to use this one more at an appropriate time of the year. Of course, makeup, you can play with it any time of year, but I just really haven't had a chance to use this one yet and was waiting a little bit more for summertime. And so I'm really excited to get to use it. I did include this one in my summer palette pile video, and so I've been wanting to make a short with it as part of that palette pile. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it in the description box below, but I've gone through all of the palettes in that summer palette pile video, and I've been creating shorts based on each one. And then I've been posting all the shorts on Instagram and on YouTube. And so I've gotten through most of them, actually all of them except for this one. And I've been holding off on this one for a particular reason. I'm going to go ahead and pop some of this on the other side, and then I'll be back and I'll go ahead and share a little bit more about that with you. I'm really liking this green. I'm going to go ahead and deepen it up just a little bit more with this shade here. This one is called Reef. And so I have actually been holding off on using this palette because my husband and I were planning on going on vacation over the summer in July, and so I actually finished all of the other summer palette pile shorts the week before we were going on vacation, and so I could have done this one also before we went, but the trip that we were going on, we were going to go to Alaska on a Disney cruise, and I actually did film a Chatty Get Ready With Me series while we were on that trip. I'm not sure which one's going to be posted first, this one or the series. I may come kind of in the middle of the series. But on our day that we went to Juneau on our trip, we had the opportunity to go whale watching. And so I knew that we were planning that for our trip, and I knew that that was coming. And so I did decide to hold off on creating this video and creating that short for my summer palette pile until after that trip that we were going on, because I wanted to have a little bit more experience with the whales, and I just really wanted my first experience with the Whalesong palette to be just a little bit more special. I really like how this is looking. I am going to go ahead and finish up the outer corner with this nice deep green shade. This one is called Bubble Knit. And so, like I said, I just was so excited to get to go and see whales in Alaska. And of course, on the video where I talk about our stop in Juneau during that Chatty Get Ready With Me cruise series, I talk all about the whales. I share some pictures and videos. We had such an amazing experience getting just to see the whales, and we got to see a lot of them on our whale watching excursion. So it was absolutely incredible. It was so beautiful out there, and just getting to see those magnificent creatures was so amazing. It was just such a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And so I'm just so glad that I kind of put off using this palette just a little bit longer so that I actually have seen the whales now. It was probably, as far as I remember, the first time I've ever really seen whales, even outside of aquariums or things like that. I mean, maybe I've seen them a few times, but it was really just such a memorable experience, and just something that in my day-to-day life and just kind of even special events I really haven't had an opportunity to experience. So it was just so amazing, and I'm just so grateful and so blessed to have been able to go on that trip and to have those experiences now. So definitely, if you have not seen that Chatty Get Ready With Me video yet, it is coming soon. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for it, and definitely check it out when it comes. It was a really neat experience, and we got some great footage and some great photos from that experience. So definitely check that out, and I'm really excited to get to share a little bit more of that. So I'm going to go ahead and pop some of this Bubble Knit shade on the other side, and I'll be back in just a moment. I really love how this look is turning out. I think it is really pretty. Those greens are really beautiful, and I'm really excited to also dive into some blues. And like I said, I'm just so excited about this palette, and especially I'm so excited just because I've gotten to see whales recently, and I was really excited to get to see whales on our trip. I did actually get my nails done with whales on them. You can see the little whale tails on my ring fingers, and then the mountains on my index fingers. But I just loved getting to get my nails done for the trip. And then also I picked up this beautiful whale jewelry in Skagway while we were on our trip. So it's just so cool just to have all those experiences and all of these kind of mementos to be able to include in this video. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to go in with another Ace Beauté Paletteopoly brush. This one is P4, and I'm going to move into some blues as we're going into the lower lash line. So I think I'm going to start with this kind of medium blue shade here. This one is called Dive, and I'm going to just run this along the lower lash line and just start to build up a little bit of blue. So I'm going to very gently tap into the shade. Again, these are very pigmented, so it does not take a lot of the product to really get a very nice, beautiful coating on your brush. So I'm going to just start to, like I said, run this all the way across the lower lash line, all the way from the outer corner towards the inner corner, and just start to build up some pigment. And this is a very pretty shade. It is very bright. It is a very vibrant blue, a very nice kind of ocean blue on a sunny day. It is really pretty. I'm pulling this a little bit into this outer corner just to make sure I don't have any holes or gaps in my shadow, and then just making sure to pick up a little bit more product and continue to build up that pigment. This is really pretty. I really like how pigmented this palette is and how beautiful and how bright all these shadows are. I really like that blue. I'm going to go ahead and deepen it up just a little bit more with this deep blue shade. This one is called Breaching, and I think that's going to just wrap up the blue for this look. So I'm going to just use that same brush, just pick a little bit up, and I'm going to start in the outer corner and just kind of deepen up the outer maybe half or so. And I may pull it a little bit more if I feel like it needs it, but mostly I'm going to try to keep the darker shade in the outer half and then keep the lighter shade more on the inner half. So just kind of blending that over top, that lighter blue shade, and just softly using my brush just to kind of blend it in and make sure that everything is nice and cohesive. So that looks really pretty. It's not going to take a lot of product here because we have already kind of covered the lower lash line with that lighter blue, but I just wanted to put just a little bit of depth so that it kind of blends into that outer corner just a little more smoothly. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll start dipping into some shimmer on the lid. I really like how all of these mattes look together, and I'm really excited to go ahead and jump into some shimmer. While I was off camera, I did go ahead and prime my eyes with my NYX glitter primer, so we are ready to go ahead and go into some shimmers. I am going to be using another Ace Beauté Paletteopoly brush. This one is P3. This one is just a flat shadow brush, and so I'm going to utilize that to start to apply some of these shimmers. And so I'm going to dip first into that light shade that is sort of a bluish green. This one was really pretty when I swatched it. This one is called Fluke. So we're going to dip into that one first, and then we're going to move into the blues and the greens. So I'm going to just use the flat side of this brush and just going to start to pick up a little bit of pigment on my brush, and then I'm going to start applying this on sort of this inner third of my lid. So just right here, kind of meeting into the inner corner, and then starting to stretch across the lid about a third of the way, and just gently applying that shadow. That is such a pretty shade, and it applies so beautifully on the lid. This one was probably my favorite shade when I took the swatches. It was so bright, so pigmented and vibrant. So just applying this, like I said, on this inner third, just kind of tapping it in and making sure that I meet where the mattes end on my crease, so that I don't have any holes or gaps with my shadow, and just making sure that everything is connected. That is such a pretty shade. I'm going to go ahead and put some of this on the other side, and then we'll continue on with the shimmers. That is such a pretty shade. I absolutely love how that looks. Next, I'm going to dip into Whalesong, that beautiful blue shimmer, and I'm going to use that same brush, and I'm just going to flip it over to the side that does not have shadow on it, and just going to go ahead and use this. And I'm just going to pick up some of that Whalesong shade. This one is very pigmented. I'm going to wipe a little bit of the excess off of my brush, tap some of it off, and then I'm going to apply this on the second third of my lid. I'm just going to apply it right here in the middle, and just kind of using my brush to blend them in as they connect on those two shimmers, so that way there's no harsh lines in between. Just kind of using back and forth motion, just kind of a dragging motion almost, kind of pulling like that, and just really connecting those two. And I love how that Fluke shade is kind of getting pulled into the Whalesong shade, so you can see just those little kind of particles of green in there. I think that's blending really nicely, and those look really pretty next to each other. That is absolutely gorgeous. I love how that's looking, and it's definitely really tying all of the blue and the green mattes together so nicely. I'm going to put some on the other side, and then we're going to finish up our shimmer here. I love how this is looking. I'm going to finish up the shimmer with this beautiful deep green. This one is called Splash, and I'm going to put this on the outer third. I did go ahead and kind of wipe off that brush, just the excess shimmer off of there, so that I'm not dipping too much into each shade. But I'm going to just go ahead and pick some of that up on this brush, and going to put this on this outer third. It is going to kind of overlap on the mattes that I have out here, and it's going to go over just kind of that deep green matte. I think it's going to add just a little bit more depth and a little bit more dimension to this shimmer, so I think that's really pretty all of these shades are very different when you look at them in the pan and when you swatch them, but I think they do all have just a little bit of shift to them, because when you apply them on the lid, they all really blend into each other really, really nicely. So I do think the greens have a little blue and the blue has a little green, and that makes it where they just so seamlessly just kind of go into each other. I'm going to flip the brush over to the clean side and just gently, where each of the shadows meet, just kind of pull on them just a little bit, just to make sure everything is nice and blended. So I really like how this is looking. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. This is such a pretty and vibrant look. I'm going to finish up with just a little inner corner highlight, and then we'll wrap up the video. I'm going to use a Real Techniques detailing brush, and I'm going to go in with that light iridescent shade Pearl, and just going to use just a little bit of that on the inner corner just for a little bit of lightness, since this look is a little bit on the dark side. So I'm going to just pick up just a little hint of that on my brush, and I'm going to use some setting spray and just going to spray this just a little bit, just to give it a little tackiness. And then I'm going to just drop this right here on this inner corner. And it is a really pretty, really light iridescent shade. It does look white in the pan, and applying it here with this look, you can see there's just an ever so slight bit of blueness there. So I think that goes really nicely with this look, and of course just with the color story in this palette. So I'm going to just kind of tap some of this in and just kind of connect it into the shades on the lower lash line, as well as up in the crease and on my lid. So that looks really, really pretty. I love how that looked. I'm going to go ahead and just also tap this on the other side real quick while we're here, and then we'll wrap things up. But I just love how this look turned out. I just think it is so pretty, so light, and just kind of has such a beautiful just kind of iridescence to it that just reflects the water and the sunlight on the water. I just think it looks so, so pretty. So I love how this looks. I am going to go ahead and step off camera. I'm going to apply all this finishing detail, some liner, mascara, lipstick, all of that. And I'll be back in just a moment, and we'll take a closer look at the final look. And here's the final look. I think it turned out so pretty. It is so bright and so vibrant, and just perfectly captures just the ocean and all of those vibes. For my finishing details, I did decide to go in with a cat eye. For this, I used my Wet n Wild Breakup Proof Waterproof Liner in Ultra Black. And then I did tight line on the top with an Ulta Beauty Collection Automatic Eyeliner in Matte Black. For the lower waterline, because I do have a lot of blue here, I did decide to go in with a blue liner. This is Ulta Beauty Collection Color Punch Automatic Eyeliner in the shade Blissful Blue. And then for my mascara, I used one from Tarte. This is their Tartelette XL Tubing Mascara in black. And for my lipstick, I just kept it pretty simple today. I just went in with a Milani lipstick. This is in the shade Petal. And so I'm just really happy with how this look turned out. I think it is so pretty, and I'm really excited just about the Whalesong palette and just the way that it performed. I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in for a closer look, and then I'll share just some of my initial thoughts about the palette with you. Enjoyed getting to use the Menagerie Cosmetics Whalesong palette. I think this palette is absolutely gorgeous and so well designed and thought out. I do really like that the outer carton is just a really simple box. It's really pretty. Of course, whenever you have a palette where the outer carton and the inner carton look the same, there's not a lot of interest to that. It's just the same as a duplicate. So I do like the Menagerie Cosmetics. It looks like a lot of their palettes, they tend to make the box different than the actual palette itself. So I think that's just interesting and just provides a little bit of uniqueness to the brand. And then of course the palette itself is where the design really lives, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I love that there is just so much detail in the cover art of this palette. I think it is so, so beautiful. I love this kind of the silver font for the name of the palette where it says Whalesong, and for Menagerie on the bottom corner. And then just the image itself is so rich and so vibrant. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love these beautiful whales in here. Of course, I love nature and I love animals, and so having this palette that really just represents animal. And that's really what I love about Menagerie Cosmetics, is just that all of their palettes are based on animals and nature and just things that I really love. And so it's just really cool to have a palette that is based on such beautiful animals. And then, like I said earlier, this little mermaid that's on here, she really doesn't stand out a whole lot, as much as you would think a mermaid would be kind of the central focus point of an image or something. I really had not noticed her until the other day, so and that might just be my own oversight, but I just thought that was really cool that she is an additional detail in there, but that she is definitely not the focal point. Your eyes are really drawn to the whales and to the other sea life that's in here. So I think the packaging is very well designed. It is absolutely gorgeous. And then the palette itself is so pretty. I just absolutely love every shade in here. I think they are so rich, so pigmented. They have so much vibrancy to them. I love that this plankton shade is a little bit more on the neutral side. And then I love just the range of the greens to the blues in the mattes in this palette. I think there is just a lot of range and there's a lot of option for different looks that you can create. Today I did mostly green on the crease and then blue in the lower lash line, but of course you could mix and match. You could blend the blues and greens together. You could do an all blue look, an all green look, or even flip what I did today and do blue in the crease and green on the lower lash line. So there really are just a lot of options and just kind of endless possibilities here. I really, of course, like the shimmers in here. The shimmers to me is where, even though there's only 4 of them, that's really where this palette kind of shines and where it really just kind of has a lot of power to it. And so getting to use all 4 of the shimmers in this look today was really fun. Of course, you could use just one shimmer all over the lid, and I think that would make an absolutely gorgeous look. But I was really impressed with how easily all 3 of these shimmers, the Flukes, Splash, and Whalesong, all just easily blended into each other in this look today. I was really impressed with just the little bits of blue and green that are in each of the shades that really help them to be very cohesive in the palette. And even kind of on the swatches, they really looked, especially Splash looked very much green and Whalesong looked very much blue, but when I applied them on the lid and really blended them all together, I felt like there was just enough of a hint of each of the other shades to really blend them together. And then this pearl shade is so pretty. It's so light and iridescent, but it does have just a little hint of blue, so it blends really nicely into the rest of the shades in this palette. So overall, I am very impressed by the Whalesong palette. I think it is absolutely gorgeous, and it is definitely perfect for summer, and it is perfect for any kind of oceanic look that you want to create. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really enjoyed creating this look using the Menagerie Cosmetics Whalesong palette with you, and I hope that you enjoyed this as well. I would love to hear from you in the comments below if you have tried the Whalesong palette and what your thoughts are about it, or if you've even used Menagerie Cosmetics at all, and which of the palettes that you've picked up and what your thoughts have been about them. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps out my channel when you take just a moment to like my videos. And if you would like to see more makeup content and tutorials, then please consider subscribing to my channel. Until next time, let's be kind to each other, beautiful to ourselves, and never afraid to make up the rules.